So, have you ever actually stopped to think about who owns your digital footprint? I mean, every single day, we're all tapping I agree on endless terms and conditions without even a second thought. Honestly, who actually reads a 50-page privacy policy when they're just trying to order a pizza? We're handing over our locations, our habits, our identities to countless apps and websites. But what if you change your mind? Can you force a massive tech company to just, well, delete your data? It's a huge question, and today we actually have a definitive answer.
Welcome to this explainer. I'm honestly super excited to guide you through this material today because we are diving deep into the Digital Personal Data Protection Act of 2023. And look, this isn't just some abstract theory. This is the official legal framework that fundamentally flips the power dynamic between you and the companies processing your information. It's totally designed to protect our digital lives, and understanding how it works is just absolutely crucial.
Right off the bat, to ground our analysis, we're looking directly at the official Gazette of India publication of the DPDP Act, which was enacted in August 2023. So we're not relying on secondhand summaries or opinions here. We are going straight to the undeniable authority of the law itself, figuring out exactly what it says and, more importantly, what it means for you. Okay, here's our game plan for this explainer. 1, we'll meet the DPDP Act. 2, we'll define the data players. 3, we'll go over your new data rights. 4, we'll look at corporate rules and consent. And 5, we'll wrap up with enforcement and penalties. Let's jump right in. Section 1, meet the DPDP Act, balancing data and rights. The big takeaway right up front is understanding the core philosophy behind this law. Right in its opening text, the Act says it provides for the processing of digital personal data in a way that recognizes a really delicate balance. On one side, it fiercely protects your right to control your personal data. But on the flip side, it acknowledges the reality of our modern economy. Businesses do need to process data to give us those seamless, customized, instant services we all love and expect. So think of this act as the new ultimate rulebook. It brings strict order and accountability to how our personal info is treated online, basically making sure that tech innovation doesn't come at the cost of your privacy. Moving on to Section 2, defining the data players. Who's who in the DPDP Act? Before we get into the really fun stuff, like how your rights actually work, we need to translate a bit of legal jargon. A foundational term you'll see everywhere in the Act is data principal. Under Section 2, Clause J, a data principal is the individual to whom the personal data relates. Let's make that super simple. This means you. Whenever the Act says data principal, it is directly talking about your personal agency and your digital footprint. Oh, and it's definitely worth noting, if the data belongs to a child or a person with a disability, the data principal legally includes their parents or lawful guardian acting for them. Now, on the other side of that equation, we have the data fiduciary. The law defines this as any person who alone or together with others determines the purpose and means of processing personal data. In plain English, that's the company. Whether it's your bank, your favorite food delivery app, a massive social media platform, or an e-commerce site, if they collect your data and decide what to do with it, they are the data fiduciary. They hold the data, so they hold the legal responsibility. And lastly, we have the Data Protection Board of India. Established under Section 18, this is an independent digital by design regulatory body. Think of them like the official referees of the digital world. When a data fiduciary breaks the rules, or if your data gets breached, the board is the authority that steps in to investigate, order urgent fixes, and most importantly, hand out penalties. All right, Section 3, your new data rights. Chapter 3 of the Act. Chapter 3 of the Act is entirely dedicated to your rights and duties, and this is where you gain some serious power over your digital life. You now have the right to correction and erasure. That means if a company has wrong data on you, you can legally force them to fix it immediately. Or even better, you can demand they delete your digital footprint completely once they no longer need it for whatever specific thing you agreed to. You also get the right of grievance redressal. So your complaints can't just be tossed into some unmonitored corporate void anymore. Companies are legally mandated to have a clear, responsive way to handle your issues. And this next one is incredible. You have the right to nominate. It's such a modern addition, letting you designate someone to manage, protect, or delete your digital legacy if you become incapacitated or pass away. It is a comprehensive suite of rights that really hands control right back to you. Let's look a little closer at how one of these works in the real world. So under Section 11, the right to access information gives you unprecedented visibility. Basically, if you've given consent to a company, you can legally demand a summary of exactly what personal data they are processing and what they're doing with it. But here's the absolute best part. You can also demand the identities of all other data fiduciaries and processors they've shared your data with. This completely rips the mask off the hidden web of data brokering. You aren't in the dark anymore about who's trading your info behind the scenes. If you find out that, say, your favorite shopping app is selling your profile to third-party marketers, you now get the exact names of those third parties and you can take action. Now, it's a two-way street. The framework brilliantly balances the scales. While you're getting all these amazing rights, Section 15 of the Act also introduces the duties of the data principal. The law insists that with great rights come specific obligations. You have to respect these duties to keep the system fair and functional for everybody. Let's quickly run through these duties under Section 15. As a user, you must obviously comply with applicable laws. You can't impersonate someone else when providing data. If you're applying for official state documents, you can't suppress material information. When you ask a company to correct your data, you have to provide verifiably authentic info. And here is a crucial one. You must not register a false or frivolous grievance with a company or the board. I really want to highlight that because, as we're going to see in the penalty section, filing a fake complaint just to troll or harass a company can actually result in a pretty hefty fine leveled directly against you. Section 4. Corporate Rules and Consent. Rules for data processing. Okay, Sections 5 and 6 lay out a very strict step-by-step consent journey. Companies simply cannot bury a massive data grab inside a 50-page legal document anymore. Step 1, they have to give you an itemized notice detailing exactly what data they're collecting and the specific purpose for it. Step 2, they must get clear affirmative consent. That means no more sneaky pre-tick checkboxes or confusing double negatives. Your consent has to be free, specific, informed, and unambiguous. And Step 3, they must clearly give you the option to withdraw that consent. I actually want to read you this exact quote straight from Section 6, subsection 4 of the Act, because it is literally revolutionary. It says you have the right to withdraw her consent at any time, with the ease of doing so being comparable to the ease with which such consent was given. Just think about how massive that is. We've all been trapped in one of those deliberately frustrating mazes trying to unsubscribe from a mailing list or cancel an app. The law now mandates that if it took one simple click to give them your data, it must take one simple click to take it back. What makes this act so great to read is that it actually includes real-world illustrations to prove how the law works. Check out this one straight from the text. So an individual downloads a telemedicine app. The app asks for consent to process data for health services, but it also sneaks in a request to access your mobile phone contact list. Well, the Act points out that because your phone contacts are absolutely not necessary for providing telemedicine, your consent to that specific part is completely invalid. Companies are legally restricted to taking only the data strictly necessary for their service, so no more flashlight apps demanding access to your GPS location. Here's another brilliant illustration right out of the Act, this time about insurance. If an insurance app asks for your data to issue a policy, but sneaks in a tiny clause forcing you to waive your right to file a complaint to the Data Protection Board, yep, that waiver is totally invalid. A company cannot use their terms and conditions to strong-arm you into signing away your legal rights. Your protections under this act are strictly non-negotiable. And finally, Section 5, Enforcement and Penalties, holding companies liable. So, the multi-million-dollar question. What happens if companies just ignore all of this? Does the Data Protection Board actually have teeth? The answer is a resounding yes. The maximum penalty can hit an astounding 250 million rupees, or, as it's written in the schedule of the Act, 250 crore rupees. That equates to 2.5 billion rupees. This clearly shows that the Data Protection Board has serious, undeniable authority. The era of just getting a slap on the wrist for massive corporate data negligence, yeah, that's over. Let's break down exactly how these fines work. If we look at the schedule attached to the very end of the Act, we see the list of maximum monetary penalties. If a company fails to take reasonable security safeguards to prevent a personal data breach, boom, they can be fined up to 250 crore rupees. If a breach does happen and they try to cover it up by failing to notify the board and the users, that's an additional penalty of up to 200 crore rupees. Breaching rules about tracking or advertising to kids, up to 200 crores. And finally, remember those user duties we talked about earlier? If the data principal, you, breaches those duties by registering a fake or frivolous complaint, you can actually face a penalty of up to 10,000 rupees. It is a strictly balanced ledger of accountability, making sure absolutely everyone plays by the rules.
Wow, we have really covered so much ground today, unpacking the actual legal nuts and bolts of the DPDP Act 2023. We've seen exactly how the law rebalances power, forces transparent consent, hands you profound new tools, and backs it all up with some massive penalties. So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Do you know exactly which apps are holding your personal data right now, and are you ready to exercise your newly learned right to erasure? You now have the knowledge and the sheer legal backing to take control of your digital footprint. Start demanding answers. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I highly encourage you to go look at the apps on your phone today through the lens of your brand new digital rights.